Jason, 4 million sales, how many sides is that? So there's 8 million opportunities. So when you hear 4 million transactions, don't think that there's 4 million opportunities. There's actually 8 million opportunities. Unless your goal exceeds 8 million, there's plenty of business for you to hit your goal. Does that make sense? When we were in the pandemic, it was a speed-based market completely. It is now shifting to a skills-based market, or has shifted to a skills-based market. I also don't want to take away the speed part of that, because timing is everything. Does that make sense? Phil Jones gave the example of you talk to somebody one day and, hey, are you interested in selling your home? Not that that's the conversation you would use, but just to generalize it. And they say no, and the next day they go into work and they find out that they've been transferred. Does that shift their conversation? Does that make sense? So I don't want to say that speed isn't important, because it's always important. And now we have to make sure that we're getting into the skills-based, which has to do with language, right? We get paid to talk, guys. More than anything else, we get paid to communicate. So we have to communicate at a high level. The worst time to think about what you are saying is when you are saying that's Phil Jones. Okay, it's one of my favorite quotes, because how often do we find ourselves in an appointment and we're like, Now Phil has an interesting theory on this. And the reason why agents don't practice and rehearse is because there's a dopamine hit when we are in crisis and we solve the crisis in the moment, which is great for our dopamine and not real good for our pocketbook, right? I don't know that I carry a pocketbook, but you understand what I'm saying. All right, Shift, book page 84. As we are definitely in a shifting market, this is a great book to pick up and read through. It's very tactical. In a shifting market, we're referring to conversion. It matters the most because, quite frankly, what you need more than anything else are appointments with motivated buyers and sellers. And when we're in a shifted market, do we have fewer motivated buyers and sellers? Absolutely. What are the magic words? Okay, I thought you'd say please and thank you, because that's like, that right? I thought that's where we were going to go with that. And I was going to say, there are no magic words. Motivation, what is motivation? Motive derived from the Latin word motivus, which is the reason. Ation derived from the word action, do something or move, i.e. reason to do. With a big enough reason, people will do just about anything. Now, here's the question for you. How do we motivate? I don't know where that came from. How do we motivate the unmotivated?
Give them a reason.
Okay. Create urgency.
Have them figure out the reason.
Yeah. John Maxwell says the key to motivating your employees is to hire motivated people. I will translate that into the key to motivating our sellers and our buyers is to find motivated sellers and buyers, because there are certain people that you're never going to be able to motivate. That makes sense? And I think sometimes, not all the time, sometimes we latch on to somebody who isn't motivated longer than we should. And there are some times that we don't get into the motivation for the motivated, right? All right, the number one strategy to move a buyer or seller forward in a transaction is discover their motivation. No, you don't know, ask again. When you think you know, ask 3 more times. I want to be near my grandkids. Awesome. That is so superficial that we're not really getting into the motivation. What makes that important to you? Can you tell me more about why that matters? What will this move do for you? How will this move impact you or your family? What would having more space allow you to do that you can't do now? Who benefits from that space and how? What's missing from your current home that's driving this need? By the way, I'll send all this to Abby and she'll get it out to everybody. What does being in the right school district mean for your child's future? By the way, if you're meeting with somebody and they say, well, we kind of want to get Johnny into a better school. Okay, awesome. Guys, that's so surface level. If we're not diving into the motivation, they're not feeling it. Does that make sense? What does being closer to your family mean for your day-to-day life? How do you imagine your relationships changing once you're nearby? How long have you been thinking about making this move? That's a great one to ask just in general, right? What would life look like a year from now if everything goes the way you hope? And that should be a the, not they. They way you hope, right? So when we're talking to our clients and we're finding their motivation, we know that motive is the reason, the action is the action. If we don't know what their sincere and genuine motivation is, then we have very little opportunity to convert them or to create a sense of urgency. And our transactions sometimes, just sometimes, or listings sometimes, just sometimes, or buyers sometimes, just sometimes, a little difficult, and are there challenges that they face? The only thing that's going to keep us going through the challenge, that's going to keep them committed to going through the challenges, are if we can paint the picture of what the other side looks like and how that's going to benefit them. It's never about us. If we show up to an appointment and we want to do a song and dance and prove how great we are, we're not actually hitting the mark there. We want to be asking them questions. We want to make sure that they see that they are seen, they feel seen, validated, and all of that. Okay. Motivation. Interest rates are too high. If I sell, where will I go? I'm waiting for the market to crash. This actually came from the guy that does the morning call every morning that I get.
James Shaw.
Thank you, James Shaw. Yeah, why would you move right now? Okay, you're just kind of leaning into it. Yeah, why would you move right now? Too often, I think, this is my perception of maybe myself. Too often, I want to convince or defend the move rather than leading them to understand what's important to them. And which is more effective? If I ask you a question and you give me an answer, or if I tell you that same answer, which one is going to be more effective in persuading you to do something different? Is it going to be me telling you, or is it going to be me asking that question that leads you to that answer?
I think if what you say is matched with what they're thinking, that's more powerful, but if it's different, then it's a problem.
Okay, so labeling, do you have an example of that, not to put you on the spot?
Not really.
Okay,
I mean, so moving, there's always the reason to move, and I wanna move because, but if you get that wrong and you're like, hey, this is gonna help you with this, and because I believe perspective is ever changing, right? One moment they're looking this way, one moment they're looking that way, one moment they're going this way, and you gotta keep in tune with it, so if you say the wrong thing, you take a chance and you're wrong, I think it could hurt. But if it matches, it's like, oh, well, yeah, of course.
if you ever want to say something and you're not sure about it, but you think you know, no, in all seriousness,
Kind of what I just did, by the way.
there's a tactic called labeling that comes out of, and I'm sure it's not the only place, but Never Split the Difference.
Yeah.
Okay, great book.
Yeah.
Right? He also wrote The Full Fee Agent, also a great book. Recommend both of those. Labeling would say, Brian, I don't know if this is right, but what I'm feeling is, and I'm giving you permission to counter that. Does that make sense? Okay. And I think that always reiterating what they're telling you, if I ask you something and you tell me the answer, why do you want to move? I want to be closer to my grandkids. Okay. So you want to be closer to your grandkids? What would that do for you? I am saying back, I'm parroting what they told me and my response to them. Because that is one of the best ways, mirror and matching, right? Rapport. Also, parroting is one of the best ways for them to feel seen and heard. Okay. All right, so I reached out for any specifics that you guys were concerned about. I only got a few responses, but I definitely wanted to handle that. Uncertainty, tariffs, interest rates, etc. The good news is that most people are sitting it out. And that leaves you an amazing opportunity to find the right house, negotiate a fair price, and protect yourself in the transaction. So first of all, I never want us to say something that we don't believe is true. Do you believe that that is true? Right? What we know is that when interest rates drop, then buyers will flood the market, driving up prices and forcing many buyers to settle for a much lesser home. Do we believe that to be true?
Yes.
Okay. I am all about moving a buyer to the closing table or a seller to the closing table, as long as it makes sense for them and I don't have to sacrifice my integrity on the way. And so if I'm ever going to say anything, I want it to be true. And so if I'm sharing anything that you don't think is true, definitely feel free to have that conversation, right? I'm not interested. So this was brought up if you are calling through a neighborhood or if you're door knocking. I'm not interested in, and if you guys have something that you like, I love to hear that. I bet you are a little like me and work to stay informed about our local market and the value of your home. The next line would be, I'm not sure if it's for you, but most people find value in a local neighborhood market report that I send out. Would you be open-minded to receiving that? If you've read exactly what to say, you see 3 philisms up there. I bet you are a little like me. I'm not sure if it's for you, and would you be open-minded to receiving that? Those are all philisms. Okay. I should have separated this better. I'll edit it before I send it. I understand, just out of curiosity, if you or anyone you knew needed a great realtor, do you have someone you could refer without hesitation? You don't want to do business now. I get it. What's the percentage of the population that moves every year? I think it's around 7% right now. Is that number ring true with you, Jason? You'll buy that? Okay. So 7%, that means 7 out of every 100 houses might have some interest in moving in the next year. Very few of those 100 houses would be willing to list their house today. And so when we're making relationships, we're building those relationships, we're nurturing those relationships for future business. It's not always going to be a yes. And Jason used to say, I don't know if he still says it, you have to be there when the yes happens.
Still say that.
Still says it, yep.
Okay. And the other thing that he used to say, and this gave me a lot of relief, you don't have to be good, you just have to be first. I'm like, great, because I suck, but I can be first. Right? I understand, just out of curiosity, what is your next goal in real estate? I understand when you decide to, and this could be used for expireds or for sell by owners, when you decide to list or remove, you want to make sure you hire a great realtor. You would want to make sure you hire a great realtor, wouldn't you? And then they say yes. That's a tie down. We'll learn about closings here in a little bit. There are 2 types of people: the people who only look for professional services when they need them, and people who do their research ahead of time to ensure they hire the right person when the time is right. What would be important to you about a realtor when it's time to hire one? We're not trying to get them to list their home today. We're saying we understand we're not getting that business today. That's okay. We want to make sure that we take care of you when the time is right. All right, how did you get my information was another one that got brought up. Just be honest. I understand how this can be concerning. I work in this area and use publicly available property records to check in with homeowners from time to time. I'm just calling because, and then whatever you're calling about, to introduce myself, to let you know, shift into the value part of that, shift into your, don't let that objection be the thing that stops you. Just acknowledge the objection and move on into why you're calling. Does that make sense? Everybody following along with that? I kind of wanted to, and depending on how I'm feeling on a certain day, I'm not saying you should, I might say, have you heard of the internet? When they say, how did you get my information? I might say that because, and especially depending on the tone of the person on the other side, right? Again, I'm not saying that that's what you should do, just saying that, anyway. Basic conversation architecture to handle objections. First, always agree no matter how wrong or ridiculous. I understand how you feel that way. Many of my clients have felt that way. And what we found is, okay? Now, there's an old adage in sales, we never use the word what. But I will say that there are sometimes that but is a great word. In fact, if you notice, I'm not sure if it's for you, but has the word but in it, right? And so used strategically, it can be great. Make sure you don't use it here. This has to be an and. Okay? I understand how you feel that way. Many of my clients have felt that way, and what we found is, well, I really want to, I want to sell my house. I want to leave some room for negotiation. So shouldn't we price it a little above the market? I understand how you feel that way. Many of my clients have felt that way. And what we found is that when we price above the market, we actually end up selling the home for less. Does that make sense? All right. But should be avoided, but not always. Remember that introduces that but introduces a clause that contrasts with what has already been mentioned. Use lazily, it will have you contradicting your client. Use effectively, it can be a pattern interrupter. Okay? All right. I'm big on reassurance. Consistently remind and reassure your clients that you are on their side. The elephant in the room is that we have thousands of dollars at stake. Clients know that. Don't shy away from that. I once went to a class and they were talking about, the instructor said they never do a net to seller because they never want the seller to understand how much money they're making. They're gonna figure it out. Like, they're gonna figure that out, and I'd rather be upfront about that. And by the way, what might that say about that particular person? If you didn't want to tell people what you made or what you charged, what might that say about that particular person?
Hold other things.
All right, I got 3 things and I didn't hear. What were you saying?
You're gonna hold other information.
Okay, you're gonna hold other information. You might not be completely transparent, okay?
You have no integrity.
You have no integrity.
Lack of confidence.
Lack of confidence and value, and they don't see the value in themselves. Right? If I'm ever embarrassed about the amount of money that I'm making, then I don't deserve to make that much money. Anyway, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying I don't see the value in myself. That makes sense? If I'm afraid to disclose, and I think that happens on the buy side now, right? For a long time, we didn't have to have those conversations. Now we're having to have them at a higher level, and I think sometimes maybe we don't see the value in ourselves and our services enough to have that conversation and command a specific, whatever your compensation is, but command that. And not accept whatever you can get. All right?
Hey David, I'm sorry, I just have to say this. They did us a wonderful thing when they put the phrase compensation for professional services in our agreement. Because it is a great catalyst into the conversation about why we are professionals and why they need us. And it's a great confidence boost for that conversation. And so I just like, if y'all don't latch onto that phrase, like the compensation for professional services, it's a beautiful thing to help us have the confidence to have that conversation.
I love that point, and that's not a point that I've come to on my own, so I appreciate that input. Not to put you on the spot, would you share with us what that conversation just, kind of how you transition from that specific thing into your list of professional services?
So for a buyer or seller?
For either, just as an example.
Sure, so like when I'm meeting with a seller, it's just, we're just gonna talk about the compensation for professional services. As we've talked about, we've discussed all of the things that I'm going to be doing to represent you. and this is the compensation that reflects it. And then I just remind them that I'm not compensated until I've successfully carried out everything that I've promised them. And what is amazing is that when you phrase it that way, they're like, okay.
Every other field will compensate, right?
Yes.
It's our compensation package.
Right. So, one of the things that I found, and I don't know if you guys have found this or not, again, some of these things could be my own perception. Whenever I come to a compensation conversation, sheepishly or reluctantly, I am much more likely to get asked to take a discount than if I confidently say my fee is X. Would you all agree with that? Again, that goes back to being embarrassed about how much we make. If we're embarrassed about how much we make or we're insecure about how much we make, then we're not going to be able to present that confidently. So you need to get comfortable with that, right? You deserve it. And then go earn it. Does that make sense? All right. I'm on your side here and I'm representing your best interest. One of the things that I like to default to is I'm not here to talk you into anything. I'm not here to talk you out of anything. I'm just here to talk you through everything. Make sense? Because all I want to do is educate them and help them get to the right decision for them. If listing your home isn't right, that's great. If buying a home right now isn't right, that's okay. I want to work with people that I should be working with. And by the way, if the conversation is that we shouldn't be working together, that's okay too. Not all business is good business. And I don't want to grovel for business that I'm going to regret later. And I've been in that position, right? And what's funny about that is we always think that, basically our capital is our money. But in this business, it is our time and our emotional energy. And if we are working with the wrong people, we're wasting both. And it's not just the time that we're spending with them, it's the fact that they are sucking our battery dry and we're not able to go spend that on other people that we should be working with. Does that make sense? All right. To be the most successful, you must close. That doesn't say you should close, it says you must close. If you look at your, basically your presentation structure, are you closing at all? A soft close, a hard close, an implied close, any kind of close at all? Or are you just getting to the end of it and going, well, this is everything I do? Right? And have I been that person? Absolutely. And so again, I'm not being critical of you, I'm being critical of myself. One of the things that we have to do better is close along the way and be comfortable asking for the business. Okay? All right. Only 2% of sales are made on the first contact. 80% of sales require 5 to 12 follow-ups. 44% of salespeople give up after one follow-up. So obviously you guys know that I do a lot of coaching. I'm the director of productivity here. And so I get to meet with a lot of agents that do open houses. And they're bummed because they're not getting any business out of the open house. And then when you actually dive into what they're doing, it's really nothing. Well, I sent them a text. A text, uno text. In 6 months, uno text. And you're not sure why you're not getting business. It's a different conversation. And by the way, that is very common. It is not a singular person that struggles with that. 44% of salespeople give up after one follow-up. 60% of customers say no 4 times before saying yes. So how many times should you ask for the business?
5 times.
No less than 5 times or until they say yes. Now, if they say yes after one close, don't keep. All right, would you like to move forward with me today? Are you comfortable signing the paperwork today? Right? 5 times or until they say yes. And you should challenge yourself when you're sitting there having the conversation or when you're closing for the appointment. by the way, there are a lot of different things that we close for in this business. So many times we're thinking about closing at the listing presentation, at the buyer consultation. We're closing for appointments. We're closing to write an offer. We're closing to negotiate through due diligence. We're closing to get the seller to consider an offer. All of those things are closing, right? Anytime we're looking for a signature or an appointment that's closing, we should push ourselves consciously to ask 5 times. And if you've asked 5 times and it's still a no, just understand you've outperformed the majority of this industry by a lot. There are no magic words. You can't motivate the unmotivated. You're not supposed to work with everybody. Not all business is good business. You give it your best shot. And then the other thing I also want to say is, there are going to be people that you sit down and you're like, I really shouldn't work with them. Listen to that.
Yeah, amen.
Listen to that. I hate it when I go to the closing table and instead of being excited about the check or the fact that my client is going to get a house or that they've sold their house and they're getting on with, their move, the only thing that's going through my mind is, I don't have to talk to these people anymore. Like, when you are more relieved than excited, you probably worked with the wrong person. All right, 63% of people requesting information today won't purchase for at least 3 months. Understand that as requesting information. That is not, they came into an open house. That is not, I knocked on their door. That is, they are specifically requesting information, and you still have a three-month lead time. And 20% won't buy for more than a year. The fortune is in the follow-up, right? Gary Keller says that we're in the relationship management business. We manage the relationship up until which point they need to do real estate business. Only 25% of salespeople regularly follow a structured sales process. And I would be lying to you if I said I was one of the 25%. I do challenge myself to close 5 times. I don't always do it exactly the same way. I have certain steps that I do the same every single time, and I don't have it structured as much as I probably should. All right, types of closes: the hard close, the soft close, the direct close, the indirect close, the trial close, the assumptive close, the negative positive close, the take back close, the tie down close, the alternative choice close, the if then close. We're going to go over a ton of closings. So a couple of things here. My favorite type of a close is an assumptive close. It's my favorite kind. That's the one that I'm most comfortable with. And we'll go over that. You're not me, and so you may not like the assumptive close. The great news is you don't have to. The reason why this is up here is to show you the myriad of possibilities, the cornucopia of closings that we do have before us that you can take your choice of. And you may look at some of these and say, that doesn't sound just like me. That's okay, tweak it. You'll see the architecture. You'll see the overarching point. The main thing is to close 5 times. And the other thing is, document which closes work best. So when I first started, one of the things that I would always do is the anatomy of an appointment. Not the anatomy, autopsy of an appointment, which involves anatomy. I wasn't that far off. But when I would get to my car, I would drive up the street and I would take my notepad and I would say what I did well, what I wish I would have done better. And I would write down an objection that I got that I didn't have an answer to. Because I promise you, the next time I got that objection, I would have had an answer to it. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. A simple hard close. Let's meet. Let's do the paperwork. Sign here. And by the way, it's funny, we talked about the DISC class. Remind me of who's teaching that? Quincy. We talked about the DISC class. If you are looking up here and something makes you uncomfortable, that might say that that doesn't resonate with your personality profile. And that's okay. That makes sense? That's why we have so many different ways to ask for the business. because we don't have to ask for the business any one way. A very, basically a high D sign here. And they have no issue with that, right? Consequence clause, if we don't make an offer today, the seller may accept another offer and this home could be gone tomorrow. Are you comfortable losing out? Authority clause, I've been in this market for years and I can tell you that a property at this price point won't last long. If you trust my experience, you know this is the right time to make your move. Take it or leave it. The seller is at their bottom dollar. They won't go any lower. So if you want this house, we need to move forward with this offer right now. Okay, Chelsea,
No, you're fine. It's, none of these are mine. You're good. I'm just like, ugh.
She's like, I don't like any of these. Like, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Okay? Soft closes, based on what you've told me, I really think this house is the perfect fit for your family. What do you think? I noticed you spent some time in the kitchen. What did you think of the open layout and cabinet space? This home seems to have everything on your checklist. List the items here, large family room, separate tub and shower, right? Water closet. And it's within your budge. Probably should be a T there.
It's new slang.
I'm better talking than typing, apparently. Would you like to discuss how we can make this your new home? Based on our meeting today, it seems that we are a good fit. How do you feel about that? I've really enjoyed talking with you. Would you like to get together to discuss this further? Now, I understand that we may be using some variation of some of these statements, but are we actually closing to move to the next phase? Just pointing out the pretty kitchen may not get them to the decision that they need to make. Okay? Do you want to write an offer? This is direct close. Are you ready to make an offer? Do you ready to meet today? Are you ready to meet today? Do you ready to meet today? Are you ready to sign with me? Is this the home you want to buy? By the way, I think if you said, do you ready to meet today? That's such a pattern interrupt that you might actually get some sort of response there.
Yeah. Let's go.
Do you ready? Signing this agreement shows that we're both committed to achieving your real estate goals. I'm ready to get started. Are you? That could be a buyer brokerage agreement, right? Decision maker close. You've done your research and you know what you want. By the way, I'm a big fan of appropriate flattery. Now, I'm not a fan of I don't want to say inappropriate flattery because that sounds wrong. Inauthentic flattery. I don't want to say something that I don't believe, and I want to point out positive characteristics about my client that I see because that's an easy way to build rapport. You've done your research and you know what you want. Is this the right home for you? By the way, you've done your research and you know what you want is a great way to take out the, oh, I want to keep looking, because you've already done your research. You know what you want. Is this the right home? Would it be okay if I got you some information to look over and then we can meet to discuss? Is there anything holding you back from moving forward? So at listing appointments, if I'm having trouble getting them to sign, that will be a question that I use. Is there anything holding you back from moving forward today? Okay. Would you prefer to move forward with this home or explore some other options? A suggestive close. Many buyers in your situation have found that making an offer on a property like this one early gives them the best chance of securing it. What do you think? How do you feel about what we've covered so far? These are trial closes. We're building a rapport as we go along. We're getting them to say yes as we go along. We're getting their agreement as we go along. Ideally, we'd like to have at least 3 agreements before we get to the final close. Have we gone over enough today that meeting would be our next step, closing for an appointment? Are you interested in seeing properties that aren't yet on the market? How important is it for you to have someone fully dedicated to your real estate goals? Assumptive close. So when I go on a listing appointment, the first thing that I say is, thank you for having me out to list your home today. Every time. I don't have much of a structure, but that is one structure that I have. And every time before we're sitting to do the paperwork, I ask them, other than pricing, do you have any questions before we do the paperwork? Those are the two things that I do very structured, those two assumptive closes. And what's funny about that is sometimes I could get into an appointment and share with them a lot of things that I find valuable that they don't see value in. And so by asking them, other than pricing, is there anything else or any other question that you have before we do the paperwork? I'm finding out what's important to them because that's all that really matters. Okay? Next step is you get the purchase agreement signed so we can secure this home for you. I'll bring the paperwork for you to sign tonight. By the way, if you're bringing paperwork, carry the paperwork in your car and do it in the house. That's my opinion. Other people may have different opinions. I always want them to sign when they have the highest emotional attachment to the house. Especially if I have an indecisive client who tends to change their mind or get a little wishy-washy. When they're in the house and they're feeling like this is the right house, have them sign the document. Because otherwise, when they're driving home, they're like, is that the right house? And we all know that our contracts are option contracts due to what? Our due diligence period, right? And so don't think that first of all, you can never force anybody to buy a home that they don't want. Also, always understand that they could unilaterally terminate if they feel like this really isn't the right home for me because of X. But if they just get cold feet, they are less likely to stop a transaction that's in progress than to just not move forward with the transaction. So I'm a big believer that if you are, especially if you're going to do it in paper, have the paperwork with you, have them do it in the kitchen or wherever at the house, if possible. All right, document preparation. I've already prepared the agency agreement based on our discussion. Let's go over it now and complete it so we can get started. Appointment close. I'll prepare the agency agreement so we can get started on finding your ideal home this week. Does Tuesday work for you to complete it? Tuesday at 1, right? Timing close, I understand if you're not sure about moving forward today. However, the best properties often go quickly, and I'd hate for you to miss out on something that could be perfect for you. When I'm just starting with a buyer, before we ever go out, one of the things that I'll ask them, I'll say, hey, Brian, I just got to know, if we find the right house today, are you comfortable writing an offer? Because if not, I'll just show you all the crap houses today, because I would hate for us to see the most perfect house for you and you be kicking yourself a month from now because you didn't write an offer. That makes sense? I'm going to set expectations up front that we're not looking, guys, too often I feel like we go out to show houses instead of sell them. Like, this isn't our pastime. This isn't our hobby. This is our career. And we should be helping our clients find the right house for them and then move forward in purchasing it. I know buying a home can be overwhelming and it's natural to have second thoughts. But think about how wonderful it will feel to have a place you can truly call your own. It's an exciting step toward your future. All right, take back close. I've really enjoyed visiting with you. To be honest, I'm not sure if I can be of help or not, but I'd be honored to meet to find out. My services are best suited for clients who want the best service and representation for a fair price. If that's not what you want, it's best that we not move forward. I only work with clients who are fully committed to finding the perfect home. If you're not ready, we can pause. I want to make sure you're completely comfortable before we sign anything. We can always wait, but just know that my schedule fills up quickly. If the details aren't exactly right for you, we don't have to sign today, but this home really does tick most of your boxes. If you're not comfortable with the numbers, we don't have to make an offer now. Just keep in mind, prices are rising. This is a great property, but if you're not sure, we don't have to make an offer right away. Just know someone else might. One thing on the, all right. Wouldn't it make sense for us to meet in the next day or so? That's the tie down close. I think we should put in an offer on this home, wouldn't you agree? You would want someone representing your best interest, wouldn't you? And then, would Thursday at 3 PM work, or would Friday at 2 PM work better? If neither one of those work for them, by the way, and they say, well, I really would like to meet at Thursday at 5, don't just automatically agree. Amy, I completely understand. I do have something scheduled for that time. I think I can move it around though. So let's pencil in 5 o'clock on Thursday, and I'll text you or call you to confirm. If we make ourselves too available, we are actually lessening ourselves and our professionalism in their eyes. I ain't got anything else going on. Anytime, like you want to meet at 11 o'clock at night, we can do that. I'll bring my flashlight so we can look around on the outside. Make sure that you're not just automatically acquiescing. And I know, especially when we don't have enough appointments, the tendency is to like, whatever I have to do to get this appointment, I'm going to do it. Hold your water. Offer them 2 times. If they can't meet at either of those 2 times, they ask for a different time. I think I can make that work. Let me just verify that I can move some stuff around, and then I'll confirm it with you. Do you want to get the home on the market Wednesday or Thursday? Would you prefer package A, B, or C? Would you prefer to look at homes on evenings or weekends? And that's more powerful than when would you like to start looking at homes? Okay. If I can get the seller to include the appliances, would you move forward? If we can come to an agreement on price, are you comfortable signing today? If I throw in 2 hours of staging, will you sign today? If I can get the home on the market by Friday, are you wanting to move forward? The if then close can be very powerful. Okay. In fact, if you've ever gone and bought a car, one of the things that the salesperson typically says is, all right, write down your number. And you can write down any number you want. You can write down $1.27. And they're like, okay, so if we can do $1.27, you're taking that car home today? Yeah, absolutely. All they want is a commitment. They know that's not going to be the number. Rarely is it going to be the number. Okay? They just want your commitment, because once you mentally commit to buying, then the rest is just negotiation. But if they haven't gotten your commitment, then you can kind of sit outside of the conversation almost like you're observing instead of being in it. All right? That's it.
That's it?
Woo! Yeah.